Barry was always, from the beginning, I think he had a big crush on me. He was a delightful young man with these big green eyes who, and great big hands and feet. He hadn't grown into himself, kind of awkward and gangly and always tripping over himself.
50 years after the Brady Bunch first aired, fans are still fascinated by the show and its beloved cast. But behind the scenes, there were more than just sibling rivalries and heartwarming moments. Over the years, rumors of cast romances swirled, and now Barry Williams, who played Greg Brady, has confirmed some of those long-held suspicions. Barry Williams and Florence Henderson, the unexpected date. One of the most surprising stories to emerge from the Brady Bunch set involves Barry Williams and Florence Henderson. As Williams grew up on the show, he developed a strong admiration for Henderson, who played his on-screen mother, Carol Brady. In his autobiography, Growing Up Brady, Williams admitted he asked Henderson out on what he considered a date when he was just 16 years old. Reflecting on the evening, Henderson later clarified the nature of the outing, saying, quote, "Barry did have a serious crush on me, which I understood and helped him get past. Let me say here that if he had been older and there weren't quite so many years between us, I might have gone for it. He was, and still is, an attractive guy." For Williams, the dinner at the Coconut Grove was a chance to spend time with someone he deeply admired, while for Henderson it was more of a nurturing gesture. She viewed it as a sweet, motherly act to let the young actor experience a bit of attention from his crush. Though the public reaction was one of shock when the story first emerged, both Williams and Henderson handled the situation with grace, making it clear there was never any inappropriate dynamic. Despite the age gap, the relationship remained strictly professional, and their bond continued to be one of mutual respect and affection throughout the years. Barry Williams and Maureen McCormick, the rumored fling.
I wasn't in regular school. My classes were coming from my public schools, but I was studying by myself or with Maureen McCormick, in a room with a private tutor. I wasn't going to the Friday night football games. I wasn't hanging out. I wasn't, just going on a date. I was always working.
For years, fans of the Brady Bunch speculated about a potential romance between Barry Williams and Maureen McCormick, who played Marcia Brady. Unlike the playful and wholesome sibling rivalry that their characters had on screen, the off-screen chemistry between Williams and McCormick was something quite different. In her memoir, Here's the Story, McCormick confirmed the two did share a brief romantic fling, adding, quote, "It was our first experience kissing anyone. You can't tell me those kisses weren't real. There was something going on between us." The connection between the two wasn't just an isolated crush. It blossomed during the height of their popularity on the show. As teenagers, they were navigating the pressures of fame while dealing with typical adolescent feelings. Williams later admitted to People magazine, quote, "It was a mutual attraction, but more playful than serious. The attraction came to life in moments when the cameras weren't rolling, and they found themselves drawn to each other during filming breaks. But their short-lived romance had its complications. As their characters had to continue acting as siblings on the show, both actors had to keep their feelings under wraps, something McCormick called a little awkward but also exciting. Despite the real chemistry, the relationship never evolved into anything more significant, remaining a sweet teenage fling. Years later, both actors fondly looked back on the time with no regrets. As McCormick reflected in an interview, "We were just two kids who happened to be playing brother and sister. It was innocent, it was sweet, and it was brief." Maureen McCormick and Christopher Knight. Another rumored romance that captured the imagination of the Brady Bunch fan base involved Maureen McCormick and Christopher Knight, who played Marcia and Peter Brady. While their characters shared a typical sibling relationship on screen, off-camera rumors suggested there might have been a romance between the two. Although McCormick and Knight have never fully confirmed a romantic relationship, the speculation grew over the years due to their undeniable chemistry and playful interactions during filming. In her memoir, McCormick touched briefly on the subject, explaining that she and Knight had a close bond, but left the door open to interpretation regarding whether it went further. "Chris and I had a strong connection, but we were both so young and focused on the show. There wasn't time for much else." Similarly, Knight has spoken in interviews about the closeness of the cast, noting, "We were like a real family in many ways, but everyone thinks there was something more going on." The rumor likely gained steam because fans often look for romantic tension behind the scenes when actors play close relationships on screen. For McCormick and Knight, however, the relationship appears to have been more about friendship and camaraderie than anything romantic. But recently, Barry Williams was quoted as saying, "We all hooked up with each other at some point, not necessarily while we were filming." So he might have not been talking about these two, but it's certainly possible. Susan Olsen and Mike Lookinland, childhood crushes. While the older Brady siblings were the focus of much of the romantic speculation, the youngest cast members, Susan Olsen and Mike Lookinland, who played Cindy and Bobby Brady, had their own innocent love story. During the show's run, both were still children, and as often happens when kids spend a lot of time together, a small crush developed between them. Years later, Olsen openly discussed this, saying, quote, "Mike was my first real crush. We were about 8 or 9 years old, and he was my little boyfriend on set." Their bond was sweet and harmless, a typical childhood infatuation that didn't go unnoticed by their co-stars or the show's crew. Olsen recalled with a laugh, "It was very innocent, more like I like you, you like me, and that was the extent of it." The crush may have been mutual, but like many childhood romances, it never went beyond a few shy interactions during breaks between filming. Lookinland, who was notoriously shy, reflected on his friendship with Olsen, describing her as the little sister I never had. Though the relationship never ventured beyond a schoolyard crush, it left a lasting impression on both of them. As adults, they often joke about their early onset romance. Olsen later said, quote, "It was all very innocent and cute, but I guess fans wanted to imagine something bigger." The lightheartedness of the connection added another layer to the complex relationships among the Brady Bunch cast. Eve Plumb and Christopher Knight. Another potential romance that has intrigued Brady Bunch fans for years involves Eve Plumb, who played Jan Brady, and Christopher Knight, better known as Peter Brady. While much of the cast had their rumored relationships, the idea of Eve and Christopher sharing a romantic connection seemed to stir particular curiosity, especially given their contrasting personalities both on and off screen. Unlike some of the other Brady pairings, however, this one remains more in the realm of speculation than confirmed fact. There have been whispers throughout the years that the two may have shared a brief romance during the show's production. In interviews, Plumb has been tight-lipped about her personal relationships on set, choosing instead to focus on the camaraderie of the cast as a whole. She once remarked, "We were all close, but it was really more like a family environment than anything romantic. People like to think there was more happening, but most of us were just trying to do a job." Knight, on the other hand, has been slightly more open to addressing the rumors, though he's neither confirmed nor denied any romantic involvement with Plumb. In an interview from the early 2000s, he said, "I can see why people think there was something there. We did have great chemistry, but sometimes people read too much into things." Barry Williams' romantic life outside the Brady Bunch.
I didn't have time for him.
Yeah, right?
Tagging along, doesn't know what's up. He's not even a good wingman at that point.
While much of the romantic speculation about Barry centers around his relationships with his Brady co-stars, his life outside the show has been just as intriguing. After becoming a teen heartthrob, he found himself in the public eye, and his dating life quickly became a topic of interest. He embraced the attention and over the years had several high-profile relationships. In his autobiography, Growing Up Brady, he shared candid details about his love life post-Brady Bunch. He dated actress and singer Natalie Schafer, known for her role as Mrs. Howell on Gilligan's Island, a relationship that surprised many due to their significant age gap. Beyond that, his romantic life included more conventional relationships as well. He was briefly married to actress Diane Martin, though that didn't last long. He later married Eila Mary Matt in the 1990s, with whom he has a son. His second marriage, however, also ended in divorce. In a 2016 interview, he opened up about his struggles with relationships and how fame has influenced his personal life, saying, quote, "It's tough. When you're known as Greg Brady, people have this image of who you're supposed to be, but real life is a lot more complicated than that." Now it's time to hear from you. Who was your favorite Brady Bunch character? Let us know in the comments section below.